Okay, so this is our biomolecules foldable, and this reviews everything we already went over, especially from the 20-question quiz. You have your 4 quadrants, your carbohydrate, lipid, proteins, nucleic acid. Cho, cho, chon, chomp, okay? And so we're gonna put all of our information for carbohydrates here, and then we're gonna review the structure. Lipid information, structure. Protein information, structure. Nucleic acid information and structure. Here's a foldable we've already done. Okay, so the first part and the most important part is recognizing that this is a cell here, okay? And then the body takes in polymers. So the body takes in the polymer, but before it can actually go into your individual cells, you have to break it down. That's why all these arrows say broken down, okay? So if this is the polymer, the cheeseburger we eat, we take in all of the polymer versions of the biomolecules, but we have to break them down to get them into the cell. So for example, carbs. We take in the bread, we have to break the carbs down into glucose, okay, to use it. We take in the lipids, and that would probably be like the fat from the meat. Okay. And we have to break them down to the fatty acid glycerols that make up the cell membrane. Okay. The protein, we can get that from the cheese or the meat. And we break that down into amino acids that build all the organelles. Okay, and then the last one is the nucleic acids, like the DNA. So from the lettuce and tomatoes, we break the DNA that is, yes, living inside the lettuce and tomatoes into its monomer, the nucleotides, and then reassemble them in the DNA, in the nucleus as DNA. So we take in the polymer, such as starch as a carb, fat as a lipid, protein as a protein, as DNA from other organisms for nucleic acids, and we have to break them down. So that's what we copy down here. We said carbs, we take in starch, we break it down to glucose. Lipids, we take in fat oils, break it down to fatty acid glycerols. Proteins, take in protein, break it down to amino acids. Nucleic acids, we take in the DNA of other things that we eat, break it down to nucleotides, okay? And then I even added extras and said, remember, your body has a use for the biomolecule, and it has a use for the monomer of it. So starch is quick energy for the body, glucose is quick energy for the cell. Fat is for stored energy or insulation for the body, but it makes up the cell membrane for the cell. Proteins build muscles in the body, so that's a bigger level, but in the cell, it builds organelles. And then DNA, on the body level, gives you your traits, but on a cellular level, the nucleotides build DNA in the nucleus. Okay, last thing was we went over the structures. Okay, most importantly for carbohydrates, you have CHO, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and it's always in a 1 to 2 to 1 ratio. So there's always double the hydrogen to carbon and oxygen. So for example, if you count out, you're gonna see 6 C's, C6, 12 H's, 6 O's in any kind of carbohydrate you look at. So I counted, there's 6 C's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12 H's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 6 O's, okay? Now, this straight chain can go to a ring, okay, and all we have to do is connect these sides and it turns into this. Now sometimes scientists are really snobby and they say students should know that when 4 bonds come out of a location, that's carbon, because carbon is the only molecule that bonds 4 times. So things that look like this right here, you know, it doesn't have a C there labeled, but it has 1, 2, 3, 4 bonds. That is a carbon. So when we label our carbons at those intersections, it's still C6H12O6. 6 C's, 12 H's, and 6 O's. When you have many of these rings together, that's just the polymer starch. Okay, if you find the elements CHO, but they're not in a C6H12O6 ratio, it is a lipid. And remember how I told you these fatty acid glycerols, they kind of look like a jellyfish. There's the jellyfish kind of head, and then it has all those little legs, okay? If you would count, there's like, let's just say 20 C's, 40 H's, and 5 O's. That is nowhere close to C6H12O6 or 1 to 2 to 1 ratio. When we counted how many were here, we got C12H21O2. Yeah, nothing close to a carb ratio. So if something has C's, H's, and O's, but is not in a C6H12O6 or is not in a 1 to 2 to 1 ratio, it is a lipid. Proteins, CHON has a nitrogen, okay? So looking at all these, nitrogen, 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 we know it's a protein. Now, they will try to trick you because nucleic acids also have protein, but they also have phosphorus, CHOMP. So in this molecule here, you see a bunch of nitrogens, you think, oh, it's a protein? Nope, it has a phosphorus, this is a phosphate, this is a nucleic acid. So, in terms of elements, CHO, CHO, CHON, CHOMP, and you could tell which one is which.